So, Lisa, I actually heard about you on the Becoming Something podcast. So when I got the email from your team, I was like, absolutely, let's do this. I think you have a very unique story, a very unique voice. I think you're extremely full of wisdom. And I just think that there's a lot of girls struggling with this topic today. I know when I get DMs or when I get requests for future episodes, it's often about this topic of singleness. And really, like, why I wanted to do this podcast was because I got an email from a follower of mine, and it was just honestly one of the most gut wrenching emails of just pure sadness. And I grieved with her as I read it. And she basically, and I won't out her name, but she basically talked about, I have been trying everything possible. I've been going to young adult nights. I've been going to churches. I'm trying to make friends. I'm getting coffee. Nothing is working. I am so lonely. How do I make this desire stop of wanting a boyfriend? Why won't God give me a boyfriend? How do I enjoy being single? She put in quotes as well, enjoy being single when it is so painful and so heartbreaking. And you have this story of never being married, you're still single. I'd love to just hear your story, how that's been, and then let's just try to go through and kind of answer this girl's question as to how do we maneuver being single and navigating dating in today's day and age.
Absolutely. Well, Janine, it is such an important question and conversation to have because I think so many of us, especially maybe those of us that have grown up in a church or whatever, just feel like, isn't marriage kind of owed me? Isn't a relationship owed me? Like, my goodness, like that should be just the most natural thing in the world because, hello, I've watched all the Hallmark movies. I mean, I know how this should play out. And so I think for me, I never expected to be single this long. I mean, I thought for sure that at some point, I would lock eyes across a Starbucks. I would meet a guy at church. I would just whatever, and it would just happen. And so for me, it's been reconciling myself to that and understanding what could God be doing in this. And so the first thing, just to say to this listener, I would love to say first and foremost, and I hope this doesn't sound like any kind of pat answers because I feel like the first step that's necessary here is to grieve the fact that you are single and you don't want to be single.
Mm,
That is okay. I mean, the fact that we can grieve, God in the Psalms tells us to pour out our complaint to him. And he's no, he's not messing with that. I mean, that is like the person we don't want to pour our complaint out to is the guy that we wish we were dating, but he has no interest in us.
yeah.
But yet we get all crazy and catty and start acting like, we're entitled to XYZ guy because we met him in small group. But here's the deal. God is the one who not only cares, but actually can do something about your situation. And so we have to be willing to grieve this. And, a few years back, I wrote a book, The Dating Manifesto. And in it, I actually have an entire chapter on grieving singleness because I
Wow.
think too often in the church, we broad brush that and we say, oh, just, trust the Lord, be happy with where you are, just be glad, it's better than being in a terrible marriage or a
Right.
terrible relationship. But the fact is, if you have friends who are dating and getting engaged and stuff, that doesn't help, for people to just say, hey, put on your big girl pants and just be happy and trust God. Okay, that said, the second part of what I would say to this listener is you do have to trust God. Okay,
Yeah.
because the fact is God is in the business of making good matches. God created marriage. The Bible begins with marriage, it ends with marriage. I mean, God loves marriage. But he is not, when people in the church, well meaning ladies, often come up to me and they're like, Lisa, your day's going to come. Don't you worry. Your time, you're going to meet this amazing guy. Okay, they don't know that and they can't promise that to me.
Right.
And so, it's like, ladies in the church, stop saying that. So this idea that, God hasn't promised me or anyone else marriage. He hasn't promised people great marriages. There are
Right.
a lot of women in marriages who are extremely lonely and unhappy. So we can't assume that that's going to fix the situation. So, just coming into that, I remember being in my 20s and the day I turned 30, I had to grieve, Janine, the fact that I would now never be married in my 20s.
Wow.
And then I left my 30s into my 40s and I'm like, there went the 30s. That will no longer be part of my story. When I was 30, my dad died of lymphoma and I had to reconcile the fact that he will never be at my wedding. And so there
Wow.
are losses throughout life on a number of different levels. And the thing is, we often look at it as single women as like God is calling us to trust him with something just crazy and big. And this feels crazy and big. So I'm not going to say it isn't. But the fact is, everyone in this world has to trust God with something,
Yeah.
sometimes multiple things at once. So you may think, if I just got married, my life would be so much better. But maybe then you struggle with infertility. Or then what do you do when you have a rebellious teen, or your husband walks out on you, or you have financial ruin? I mean, the fact is, this world is broken and we
Yeah.
are broken people. And the only thing that we are promised is that God will be near to us and will walk through everything with us. And he is closer than anyone else that we would ever need. And that's our rock solid confidence.